Well, the rebuild has begun for the New England Patriots. It all started yesterday, and in case you missed your alarm clock this morning, we have some big news. The Patriots reportedly signed tight end Hunter Henry. Now, this is a guy that we know Coach Belichick has liked from afar for quite some time, Paul. But what do you make of this kind of statement that the Patriots have set out to the league early and being aggressive in free agency?
I think that these are the things that you have to do when your roster gets in the situation that it was in last year. And I love the double dip, the idea of the double dip at tight end. It brings back memories from about a decade ago, Megan. Remember when they had Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez? And I think you have a chance to get these two guys in the offense. I think, number one, tight ends really help quarterbacks. And Cam Newton has been a guy who has been able to throw the ball to tight ends, Greg Olsen in Carolina being a glaring example. So I think good security blanket for the quarterback, regardless of who that is, and it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of different things offensively with your packages. We know the Patriots like to run a lot of two tight end sets. Henry and Smith, the two top tight ends on the free agent market, reportedly both Patriots.
And you mentioned that how tight ends do a lot for the quarterback. And Hunter Henry is well aware of that because his statements early on a couple weeks ago, he said he wanted to go to a team that had a definite answer at quarterback. Well, the Patriots weren't one of those teams, so none of us really thought that this was realistic, that this could happen. Does this surprise you at all, Paul?
A little bit, but he also said he wanted to get money and a place with a quarterback. So I think he settled for one of the two. Says, these guys weren't cheap. The Patriots had to open up the wallets a little bit here to get Smith and Henry. The deals are very similar, too. One was 3 years, one was 4 years, but the average annual value, very similar. The guarantees, very similar. And both of them, cost a pretty penny.
Well, one thing is for sure, we know that Patriots head coach Bill Belichick loves him some Hunter Henry. Just listen to what he had to say about Hunter Henry before the Patriots took on the Chargers last season.
Henry continues to be a complete and very, very good football player for him. Watched him pretty much his whole career. He started Pulaski Academy down in Little Rock. Played for Coach Kelly down there, had a great career there, went to Arkansas. Had a great career at Arkansas, went to the Chargers, and, showed good ability to block, catch. He runs a variety of routes. He's come back off the injury and has been a very, very productive player for him.
They signed two wide receivers in Nelson Agholor and Kendrick Bourne. Paul, what do you make of these weapons?
Yeah, I think there are two more moves that really had to happen. They needed to get some quality NFL receivers on that depth chart. Really, it was just Julian Edelman as the lone constant. Jacoby Myers, I thought, came on last year. Now, there's some more depth there now with Agholor and Bourne, obviously. Different kinds of guys. Agholor had a chance last year. He had a really good year with the Raiders, Megan. Getting downfield, making some big plays, really as a deep threat that we hadn't really seen before from his days in Philadelphia. And with Bourne, I think a guy really still trying to find his way in the league, a little bit like Myers. I think that those guys have similar skill sets. So they needed to add to the competition at that spot, just like tight end. Maybe not as bad as tight end, but wide receiver, big area of need.
Another area of need, the defensive tackle position. We saw early on yesterday the Patriots addressed it with Godchow, but then later also signing Henry Anderson. Paul, what do you think of Anderson?
I love Henry Anderson. He's one of those guys. The Deuce is going to be really jealous of me talking about his big fatties in the middle that like to stop the run. That's what Anderson's been. I've liked him, going back to his days with Indy. He's a guy that when he got released, I thought might make some sense for the Patriots. They needed to do something to shore up that run defense. It was a big problem in the playoffs a couple of years ago with Derrick Henry. It was an even bigger problem last season for 16 games. So I think those two guys in the middle help solve that problem, another big-time area of need.
And then along with some reinforcements in Dietrich Wise, he knows the system, he's been around, and the Patriots also re-signed Carl Davis, who came around last season and showed a little bit of promise. But we are far from done. Free agency hasn't even officially started. The Patriots have been nothing but aggressive and had dominated the news cycle as far as the NFL goes and who's signing players. I'm sure we'll have more news for you later on today. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel because that's where you're going to get your news. Paulie and I will see you later.